For the what is the respiration and what are the gases are involved in the respiration process, and we are discussed about the vitiated air and fixed air. All we are discussing. Now we are going to discuss about the types of respiration. Actually, here we can able to see the different. Here basing on the oxygen, we are classified the availability of oxygen. We can able to see the two types of the respiration, and basing on the organs also we are classified the respiration into different types. So here first one we have to discuss about the basing on the oxygen. We can able to see the two types of the respirations. What are those two types of the respirations means? One is a aerobic respiration, aerobic respiration. Another one is anaerobic respiration. Another one is anaerobic respiration. So here basing on the oxygen availability, we can able to see the two types of the respirations. One is a aerobic respiration, another one is an anaerobic respiration. So first we have to discuss about the aerobic respiration means what? Aerobic respiration means here you already know that. So when we are taking a glucose, means this glucose will be reacts with the oxygen, means it can able to liberate the energy. So how we are denoted the energy means we are denoted the energy in the form of an ATP. We are denoted in the form of an ATP. What is the full form of the ATP means? Adenosine triphosphate. Actually adenosine triphosphate means what? I will already explain for you. So adenosine triphosphate means here we can able to see the one sugar molecule will be present, and the sugar molecule what we calling means we are calling as adenosine. So here if you see this adenosine means it will be contain the three phosphate molecules are attached. I mean it will be make the bonding with them. So that's why here how many phosphate molecules are presented? 3 phosphates. So that's why we are called as an adenosine triphosphate. If the one phosphate it was lost means how many phosphates are remain? 2 phosphate molecules. 1, 2. So then we call as ADP. But here if you see means when the ATP will be lost the one phosphate molecules means it will be converted into ADP. So when the ATP will be converted into ADP time, it will be liberate the energy. So here also what happens means the glucose will be reacts with the oxygen means it will be liberate the energy, and that energy we are denoted in the form of an ATP. So how so in this process only it will be releasing the carbon dioxide and even it was releasing the heat. So here this equation is a very important. Basing on this equation we are doing the different lab activities also. Very careful about that. So here when we are taking the aerobic respiration means here the glucose when it will be reacts with the oxygen means it will be liberate the energy, and it will be liberate the carbon dioxide, and even it will be liberate the heat also. It will be liberate the heat, and even in this process we can able to see the little amount of the water molecule also release it. So here if you see means this respiration process where it will be done. Where it will be done means you already have an idea. So where it will be done means it was done at the place of tissues. So tissues are made up of cells. That's why we are calling the complete process as a cellular respiration. In the cell also, especially in which place means it was done respiration where it was done means it was done at the mitochondria and inside of the some of the cell organelles. And what are the cell organelles means it will be having a very difficult process and not necessary for our class. Especially where it will be done means in the mitochondria it will be take place. So here you see that glucose when it will be reacts with the oxygen means it will be liberate the energy, carbon dioxide, heat and water. But if you take the anaerobic respiration means here and in the anaerobic respiration glucose will be liberate the energy but without presence of oxygen. Without oxygen it can able to release. So here if you see means the glucose will be liberate the energy, and that energy we are denoted as an ATP. So here in the anaerobic respiration glucose will be liberating the energy. So immediately you get one doubt. Sir, you said that respiration means here the glucose will be breakdown. Food material breakdown process will be done, and that one will be done by the help of the oxygen, and it will be liberate the energy. So here energy and carbon dioxide, heat and H2O will be releasing. Okay, you understood that. But here I want to give you are asking me Sir, in the anaerobic respiration means there is a glucose breakdown without oxygen means that process we call as an anaerobic respiration. Here also energy will be liberating. Then what is the use of the oxygen? Without oxygen, we can able to break down the glucose and we can able to liberate the energy. You are getting that doubt. But here I want to give one clear cut point for you. For example, if you take the glucose means when the glucose will be reacts with the oxygen, it will be liberate the energy and that energy we have denoted as an ATP. But if the glucose will be reacts with the oxygen means it can able to liberate the 38 ATP. It will be liberate the 38 ATP. 38 ATP means 38 molecules of ATP will be released. 38 molecules of energy will be released. But when you are taking the anaerobic respiration, glucose can able to liberate the energy without oxygen also. But how much energy it can able to liberate means the glucose will be liberated energy without oxygen means that ATP was how many number means only 2 only. Only 2 only. So here you have some idea. So here in the basing on the availability of oxygen, we can able to see the two types of the respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. One is an aerobic and the one is an anaerobic. So here in the aerobic respiration, glucose break down with the help of the oxygen. But in the anaerobic respiration, glucose without oxygen, they are liberating the energy. But what is the major difference between them is aerobic respiration, there is a glucose breakdown after, here it will be releasing the 38 ATPs. I mean high amount of energy will be liberated. But when you are taking anaerobic respiration, glucose without oxygen, they are breakdown. That's why they are liberated only 2 ATPs only. I mean it will be liberating very less amount of energy. Very less amount of energy. Then we have another doubt for you. So here glucose breakdown means 38 ATPs. Okay sir. Without oxygen means the glucose will be liberating 2 ATPs only. Then we can do the one more thing sir. What we have to do means without oxygen glucose breakdown means is there any problem have or not? For example, if you take the glucose and oxygen reaction with energy at the same time carbon dioxide, some amount of water will be released. But in all this place, here if the glucose will be without oxygen breakdown means it was liberated the lactic acid. It will be liberated the lactic acid. It was liberated the lactic acid. What is the lactic acid will be done? For example, if you take the lactic acid means this lactic acid will be stored in your muscle cells only. It will be done. It will be stored in our muscle cells only. For example, if you take the lactic acid will be stored in your muscle cells means what happened? Your muscle cells will be gone to the swelling. It will be gone to the swelling. At the same time, it will be give the some pain also. It will be give the some pain also. So here in the glucose, if they are without oxygen breakdown means it will be releasing the lactic acid and that lactic acid will be stored in our muscle cells. So if our muscle cells will be stored means it will be having a little bit of swelling, at the same time some pain it will be causing. Sir, is there any another problem have sir? Yes, there is another problem also have. For example, if you want to do the any work means what we have to do? We have to contract your muscles. For example, here I want to hold the chalk piece. Hold the chalk piece means here what are the muscles are presented in my palm? Those are contract. Contract means they are coming closer and at the same time they are relaxing. So here in the muscle cells we can able to see the two muscle fibers are presented. What are those means? One is an actin, another one is a myosin. These fibers are contract means only we can able to move your body parts. For example, if there is a more amount of the lactic acid will be stored in our muscle cells means your muscle cells will be lost the contraction and that condition is called as a muscle fatigue. We call it as a muscle fatigue. We are called as a muscle fatigue. So here basing on the availability of oxygen we can able to see the two types of the respiration. One is aerobic, another one is anaerobic. In the aerobic respiration we can able to see the glucose breakdown with the help of the oxygen. So such a kind of respiration we call as an aerobic. In the glucose without oxygen, if they are breakdown means it will be called as an anaerobic. So in the examination time they are asking you what is the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So here you have to write down this respiration process will be done by the help of in the presence means it will be have availability of oxygen. If the without availability of oxygen it will be done means it called as an anaerobic. And here you have to write down as a second point. In the aerobic respiration there is a more amount of energy will be released. Why means in the aerobic respiration total 38 ATPs will be released. But in the anaerobic respiration only less amount of energy will be released. So second point is completed. And the third point, you have to take in the aerobic respiration we are getting the CO2 and heat and water will be liberated. But in the anaerobic respiration, there is a no formation of carbon dioxide and water and heat. Heat also liberating, but very less quantity. Very less quantity. And here, if you see the aerobic respiration, there is a no formation of lactic acid. But here in the anaerobic respiration, we can able to see the formation of lactic acid, and that lactic acid will be lead to the muscle fatigues and muscle pains. So tell me, sir, one more thing. In the aerobic and anaerobic respiration, we see the different types of the processes and what are the all done, we know that. But now we are asking that this aerobic and anaerobic respiration, which respiration process will be going on inside of our body? For example, if you see this, most of us are thinking that in our body aerobic respiration only thinking, but actually it is wrong. Actually in our body, if you see means there is a two processes are going on. For example, sometimes it will be aerobic respiration will be take place. Some other times we can able to see anaerobic respiration. I can give one example for you. For example, if you have a sports meet for us, then I have a sports meet means we have one athlete. I mean we have one running race. In that running race, I will give a 1600 meters running. So in the 1600 meter running time, what happens means when you are started the running time, you are very energetically you are running. But some other time complete after you are unable to run. And why it was happen? For example, when you are running time in the beginning, your breathing rate is a normal. Breathing rate means how many inhalations and how many exhalations you are doing. So all they are normal. So all these are normal time. What happens? The normal time the oxygen levels will be sufficient to your body, and already some oxygen will be stored in our muscle cells, and all they are utilizing. But continuously you are doing any work, continuously vigorous. I mean sometimes you have to do in gym only. Most of members are doing a very vigorous means lot of work they are doing. When they are doing a lot of work time, unable to supply the oxygen. Unable to supply means they are unable to breathe. For example, when you are running time only, you have to clearly observe that. Like that we are breathing that. I mean are unable to breathe. So when you are unable to breathe and your oxygens are not able to supply them. So when you are not able to supply the oxygen means what happened? There is a no proper oxygen in your body. But you are required the energy. So in that time what happened? There is a glucose. Without oxygen they are breaking down and liberating energy. So that's why we are seeing the aerobic and anaerobic respirations both are going on inside of our body. But anaerobic respiration, sometimes in the examination they are asking you in which condition time you are getting the anaerobic respiration. In which condition means we are getting this condition at the time of oxygen depth. Oxygen depth. Oxygen depth means deficiency of oxygen in muscle cells. When it will be happening means no one you know that. When you are doing the vigorous exercises or when you are doing very lot of work, in that time there is a no proper supply of oxygen to your body, and that condition is called as oxygen depth. In that time what type of respiration process is going on means in that time anaerobic respiration process will be going on. So here if you see me, these are the muscle cells. In the muscle cells we can able to see the aerobic and anaerobic. Now I want to clarify the one more thing. For example, if you take the some of the microbes we can able to see. Microbes means we can able to see the bacteria, some other microbes will be presented. For example, if you take the microbes means these microbes are doing the respiration either aerobic or anaerobic. For example, if you take the human beings means aerobic and anaerobic respiration processes are going on. Anaerobic at the time of oxygen depth condition is going on. But in the microbes, especially bacteria, yeast, some of the microbes will be presented. Those microbes are doing anaerobic respiration. They are doing the anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration means here these microbes are breaking down the glucose without oxygen. In that process what happened means they are liberating the energy. In that process only they are liberating, in the place of lactic acid they are releasing the one more component. That component name was C2H5OH. What is the C2H5OH? What is that one? What is that one means it's nothing but alcohol. What is that one? Alcohol. And we are calling as an ethyl alcohol. Actually, if you take the human beings means the glucose, energy, and they are releasing the lactic acid. But when you are taking a microbes means These microbes are glucose, they are breaking down without oxygen time. These microbes are releasing the some amount of energy. At the same time, they are releasing the alcohol also. They are releasing the alcohol. And this process in the microbes, this anaerobic respiration process in the microbes, we are called as that process we call as fermentation. We are called as fermentation. We are called as fermentation. This process we are called as fermentation. By the help of this technique, we are preparing the alcohols. We are preparing the alcohols. About this process again we are going to discuss in the next classes. So here, basing on the availability of oxygen, we can able to see the two types of the respirations. What are those two types of the respiration means? One is the aerobic and the one is the anaerobic. Until now we are going to discuss about the what are the types. All these discussed after we are going to discuss in our what are the concepts I have in our textbook. So here aerobic respiration means the glucose breakdown by the help of the oxygen and it will be liberate the energy, and that energy how much means 38 ATPs. In that process they are releasing the carbon dioxide, heat and water also. But when you are taking the anaerobic respiration or process also going on inside of our human body, especially in which condition is oxygen depth. So here if you see that anaerobic respiration time, they are releasing very less amount of energy. How much energy they are releasing means only they are releasing 2 ATPs only. 2 ATPs only. And here in this process they are releasing the lactic acid also. And here if you see means this process also done by the microbes also. In the microbes they are breaking down glucose. That glucose they are break down into energy, and also in the place of lactic acid they are producing ethyl alcohol. And this total process what we calling is fermentation. So basing on the oxygen availability, two types. Basing on the organs, what type of respirations we can able to see. Now we have to discuss it. Okay students, basing on the oxygen availability, we are classified the respirations into two types. What are those two types means? We are calling one as an aerobic respiration and another one is an anaerobic respiration. Now basing on the organs, how we are classified the respiration, now we see. So here basing on the organs we are classified the respiration into four types. But before we are explaining these, we have to recollect your 9th class lesson once again. So in your 9th class you already seen the biodiversity lesson. There you learn about the how we are classified the living things on the earth. So here on the earth we can able to see the two living things are presented. Actually we are able to see the only two groups of. What are those two groups means? One is a plant and the one is an animals. So if you see the plants how they are respiring, we can able to discuss in our next classes. So here we are going to discuss only about the animals. So here if you take the animals means in the animals we can able to see the two groups again they are presented. For example, if you recollect your previous class lesson means here in the animal kingdom we are seeing the two classes. We are seeing the two classes. For example, if you take the whatever the animals are presented on the earth, all those animals we are classified them into two classes. What are those two classes means? One is an invertebrates. One is an invertebrates. Another one is vertebrates. Another one is vertebrates. So here we are seeing the two groups. What are those two groups means? One is an invertebrates. Another one is an vertebrates. So tell me what is an invertebrate and what is a vertebrate. Invertebrate means actually you are having a one simple definition for the invertebrates and vertebrates. Simple definition that one actually. What is the simple definition means? If you take the invertebrates means they are not contain the backbone for them. But if you take the vertebrates means they have a backbone in their spinal cord, and we are calling them as vertebrates. But actually it's a very simple definition. And here if you see the invertebrates and the vertebrates, what is the major difference between them is, here invertebrates they are not contain the notochord in them. Notochord means it's a one kind of calcium made up of component. For example, if you take the vertebrates means these vertebrates that contain the notochord in them, these notochord only modified into vertebral columns. They are modified into vertebral columns. So when they are modified into the vertebral columns means all these columns are arranged and they form the backbone. So that's why we are giving a simple definition as a invertebrates are not contain the backbone for them. And here if you take the vertebrates means they are contained. So here if you take the invertebrates means we can able to see the so many groups are presented here. I mean protozoans, porifera, annelida, orthopoda, mollusca. These kind of groups we are seeing in the Invertebrates. For example, if you see the invertebrates, how they are respiring. How they are respiring means, for example, if you take the lower organisms. If you take the lower organisms means you can able to see the bacteria. We can able to see the amoeba, and we can able to see the paramecium. Such a kind of living things are presented. For example, if you take the amoeba means these kind of organisms are not contain any specialized organ for their respiration. For example, you have to take ozone. For example, how we are respiring? How we are respiring is by the help of lungs. So here, if you see this portion, we contain the two lungs are presented, right side and left side. They can able to see the two lungs are presented. So they are helping to us in the respiration process. But if you take the amoeba or protozoan, paramecium, such a kind of protozoans you take means they are not contain any specialized organ in them. So they are not contain any nose, they are not contain any lungs. But how they are respiring? How they are respiring means they are respiring by the help of their plasma membrane only. By the help of the plasma membrane only they are respiring. So here in the previous class we already discussed that. So here amoeba, plasma membrane, they are using for the locomotion also. They are moving from the one place to some other place. So we are calling the plasma membrane as a pseudopodia. So there the plasma membrane is helping to them for the locomotion. At the same time they are helping in the respiration process also. How they are respiring means, for example, if you take the plasma membrane means on the plasma membrane we can able to see the small tiny pores will be presented. Through this pores onward what happens means the oxygen will be entered into their body. At the same time through these pores onwards only they are expel the carbon dioxide into the outside. So here what is the respiration? What is the breathing? Means here the inhalation and exhalation. Taking air and releasing air into the outside. So here if you take the amoeba, they are taking oxygen. Inhalation process was going on. So at the same time they are releasing carbon dioxide into the outside. It means exhalation process also going on. So here they are respiring or not respiring? They are respiring. But they are not contain any specialized organ for the respiration process here. So this kind of process we are called as a diffusion. We are called as a diffusion. So here they are not contain any specialized organ, but by the help of their plasma membrane they are respiring, and that process we are called as a diffusion. So in the examination sometimes they are asking you here, if you take the smaller organ, lower organs, amoeba or paramecium, what type of process of respiration will be taking place in them means we have to answer to them as a diffusion. They by the help of the plasma membrane, oxygen and carbon dioxide will be exchange will be taking place, and that process we called as a diffusion. So if you go on to the protozoans and porifera and we are going to the higher category time, what happens means these animals have a specialized organs for the respiration. For example, you have to take an arthropoda. Arthropoda means here in that arthropoda category we can able to see the cockroaches, we can able to see the insects, all they are presented in that class. For example, if you take the cockroaches or anything, you have to take it means these creatures also can able to respire. How they are respiring means here on the body surface. For example, if you have to take a one cockroach. So when you are taking a cockroach means on the top of their body we can able to see the very hot shell will be presented, and that hot shell we call as a chitin, and on them we can able to see means very tiny, even we cannot able to see with our eye also. So if you see them means we can able to see the small tiny pores, we can able to notice them. And what we calling those tiny pores means we are calling those tiny pores as spiracles. We are calling them as spiracles. We are calling them as spiracles. And also we calling as these spiracles they will be connected to the small tiny tubes, and all these tiny tubes are joined together and they will be form the one large tube structure, and that one we call as a tracheal system. So here if you see them on the cockroach's body, small tiny pores are presented and we are calling them as spiracles. So which are the living things respire by the help of the spiracle? We are calling such a kind of respiratory system as a tracheal system. Tracheal respiration. We are called as a tracheal respiration. We call as a tracheal respiration. So here in the invertebrates, here the smaller organisms, the unicellular organisms, they are respired by the process of diffusion. So when we are taking insects or cockroaches, some kind of those animals, they are respired by the help of the specialized organs in them. They are called as spiracles. Spiracles means on the body surface a small tiny pores. We are calling them as spiracles. By the help of them, they are respired. Means that process of respiration we call as a tracheal respiration. So about the invertebrates means this is the enough for our class. But when we are taking a vertebrates means now only we discussed that. So what we are discussing means the vertebrates they are contain the backbone. But here I want to clarify the one more thing. Mostly invertebrates we are also calling it the one more name. What we are calling means we are calling the invertebrates as a lower organisms. What we calling them lower organisms. And if you take the vertebrates means we are calling them as a higher organisms. In vertebrates we call as a higher organisms. And tell me why we are calling the vertebrates as a higher organisms. And why we are calling them as a higher organisms means here if you take the vertebrates means they are body wise. I mean they are the body structure wise they are very well developed. For example, if you take the invertebrates means for the respiration, for the digestion, for the capturing of food, for the locomotion, all they contain the same organ. For example, you have to take the plasma membrane only doing the locomotion. They only doing the respiration, they only helps in the capturing of food, and they not contain any specialized organs. But if you take the vertebrates means for the respiration they contain a nose, they contain the lungs. For the respiration there is a specialized system, respiratory system they have. For the food digestion we have a specialized system. I mean we have a mouth, esophagus, you know that. We have a separate system. I mean small intestine, large intestine, all they have. For the circulation, for example, you have to take the amoeba like smaller organisms. You have to take means for the circulation they are contain only cytoplasm only. For example, inside of the cell we can able to see the cytoplasm, and that cytoplasm only helps in the circulation. I mean they will be transport the food material and everything. But here in our body we contain the heart and we contain the blood. Circulatory system is a specialized. If you take the invertebrates, they not contain any excretory organs. I mean mostly they are plasma membrane through the onwards only they are excreting. But if you take the vertebrates means they are contain the specialized organ for the excretion. I mean they contain the kidneys. So if you see the for every function they are contain the one organ system here. So that's why compared to the invertebrates we are calling the vertebrates as a higher organisms. We are calling them as a higher organisms. So in the vertebrates, what are the group classes we are seeing? So here in the vertebrates we are seeing the 5 classes. What are those 5 classes means? One is a fishes, second one is amphibians, third one is reptiles, fourth one aves, and the fifth one is mammals. And I think you know that we are the mammals. So here if you see the vertebrates we can be able to see the 5 groups here. And what are those 5 groups means? Fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. So here if you take the fishes, how they are respiring? How they are respiring means, for example, sometimes your father will be bringing some fishes to home for the cooking purpose. So when you are watching them means here if you see the fish means on top of the, I mean beside of their eye we can able to see the small shell like structure will be we can see. And the shell what we are calling is that shell we calling as an operculum. We are calling as an operculum. For example, if you see the beside of the fish body, if you see means here we can able to see the small shell like will be presented. And what we calling the shell means we are calling it as an operculum. We call it as an operculum. And if you simply it will be rise means what happens means inside of that operculum we can able to see the reddish color structures we can able to see. And what we are calling those? What we are calling those means we are calling them as gills. We are calling them as gills. So by the help of these gills, fishes are respiring. By the help of the gills, the fishes are respiring. So here if you see means which are the animals respire by the help of the gills, we are calling that kind of respiration as a bronchial respiration. We are called as a bronchial respiration. Is a very important. So in examination sometimes they are asking you what is a bronchial respiration. You don't need to read anything. Simply how to write as in which are the animals are respire by the help of the gills. We are calling them as a bronchial respiration. Example, fish is enough. Completed that. So about the fishes, this one bronchial respiration. In them we can able to see the bronchial respiration. So when you are taking amphibians, how they are respiring? How they are respiring? Before going to discuss about the amphibians, first we have to know what is an amphibian. What is an amphibian means here if you take the amphibians means some actually When you are going on to the evolution time, some of the aquatic species, they are entered into the land, and they are, some of them, they are survived their own, and they are reptiles and aves and mammals. But some of them, what they did means, they are not stayed in the land only. I mean, they are gone to the frequently to the water and frequently coming to the land. I mean, they are habituated for the both. So which animals are living on the both land and water? So those are called as an amphibians. For example, you have to take one example for the amphibians means crocodiles, and even we can able to see the simple example for this as a frog. We can able to see the frog also. So if you take the frogs, I mean if you take the amphibians, how they are respiring? So here little bit confused way it will be have, but no problem. But if you take the amphibians means, in the amphibians we can able to see the 3 respiratory organs will be seen. For example, if you take the, some of the amphibians are respire by the help of the gills. If you take the frog one, when it having a tadpole means, you know that we have a life cycle for the frog. So when the eggs are hatched after, the frog will be comes into the outside and it will be contain the tail for them. So if they have that condition time, we are calling that frog as a tadpole. So when the frog is having the condition of tadpole time, they are respiring by the help of gills. But once the frog is grown as an adult frog, what happens is the frog will be respired by the help of the 2 respiratory organs. What are those 2 respiratory organs means? One is a skin, another one is in a lungs. So here if you take the frog means, they are respired by the help of the skin, at the same time they are respired by the help of the lungs. So if the which animals are respired by the help of the skin, we are calling the kind of respiration as a cutaneous respiration. We are called as a cutaneous respiration. So here you have an idea. So which animals are respired by the help of the gills, we call as a bronchial, and which are the animals are respired by the help of the skin, we call as a cutaneous. So here I wrote the lungs also. What we calling lungs? If the animals are respired by the help of the lungs means, what we calling that kind of respiration means, we are calling as a pulmonary respiration. We can able to call as a pulmonary respiration. So here if you see the respiration process means, we can able to see the basing on the organs, we can able to see the 4 types of the respirations. One is a tracheal, and the process we are not considered. It's a kind of process only, but there is no respiratory organ here. Diffusion, that's the process we call it in diffusion. So here which are the creatures, I mean which are the living beings are respired by the help of the spiracles, we call as a tracheal, and which are the living beings are respired by the help of the gills, we call as a bronchial, and which are the animals are respired by the help of the skin, we call as a cutaneous, and which animals are respired by the help of the lungs, we call as a pulmonary. So what about the reptiles and aves and mammals? Here if you take the reptiles means, the reptiles are respired by the help of the lungs, aves also respire by the help of the lungs, and mammals, even mammals also respire by the help of the lungs. If the animals are respired by the help of the lungs means, we call as a pulmonary circulation. We are called as a pulmonary respiration. We call as a pulmonary respiration. So here 4 kinds of respiration. One is a bronchial, one is a tracheal, bronchial, cutaneous, and pulmonary. So basing on the organs, we are having 4 types of the respirations. Here in the examination, sometimes they are asking you, in the human beings, what kind of respiration process is going on means, in the human beings, we can able to see the pulmonary respiration. Why means we are belongs to mammal category. If mammals are respired by the help of the lungs, that's why we can able to see in them as a pulmonary respiration. So here types of the respiration means, here we can able to see the basis on the oxygen, basis on the organs, we have 2 types. For example, basing on the oxygen availability means aerobic, anaerobic respiration. These 2 are going on in the human being. But if you take the microbes means, in the microbes, what happened? We can able to see in the microbes, there will be anaerobic respiration process is going on. In the place of lactic acid, what they will be producing means, they are producing the ethyl alcohol, and that process we call as a fermentation. So after that, what we see is, basing on the organ availability, we can able to see the 4 types of the respiration. One is a tracheal, bronchial, cutaneous, and pulmonary respirations. And here in the unicellular organisms, we can able to see the process as a diffusion. So this is on about the types of respiration. In the next class, we can able to discuss about the what are the organs are involved in the human